All right, I've come to my last stitch, or my last couple stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do my last single crochet into the main outside of the border. And I'm actually going, so this right here is the chain 2. You are going to want to do your very last single crochet in that loop. So yarn over, pull through there, like that. Now, if you are happy with your washcloth looking like this, you can tie off and weave in your ends, or you could do a couple layers of the single crochets, or you could just do whatever kind of fancy edging that you want. I'm going to go ahead and continue to add on to this one, just because I like the look of a layered one. And so I just do as I did before, is I chain 2 and I do a single crochet into that exact same loop, and then I go across the edges doing my single crochets. All right, now that we have talked about the border and doing whatever it is that you want to do for the border, we will go on to talking about weaving in the ends. All right, I have completed 3 layers of single crochets border on my washcloth, and I'm going to go ahead and tie off and weave in my ends. So what I like to do is take my hook out, and then I usually try to cut about 4 to 6 inches without pulling it, okay? And I take my end and I stick it through the loop first, and then I pull it to tighten it, and then I take the end and stick it through this one to kind of double knot it. That gives it a nice good knot so that it's less likely to slip out. Okay, so here I have my washcloth, and now I'm going to weave in the ends. I have 2 ends that I need to weave in, so I'm turning it over so that you can see my wrong side and how it has this beautiful woven look. I'm going to take my ends and I'm going to weave them into the back of this. Now, I know some people, when they weave in ends, they like to go kind of in a circle. So you start on the outside and you slowly work your way in. Other people will go up and then back down and back up again on the edges. And then if some of my knitter friends, the way that I was taught when knitting, is you go up and down through each of these rows about 1.5 inches into it, or 5 to 8 stitches. Then you go up a row, and then you go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and the back up. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And you do it about 4 rows up. So with each of these techniques I've tried, they usually do stay in. Like, I haven't had any issues with any of mine that I've effectively, or when I have woven them in. The only time that it didn't stay in is if I cut my string too short. Instead of weaving in about a couple inches of my yarn, I would only weave in about 1 inch. Then it would come out as I was washing my stuff. So you want to make sure that you go in all the way. So for this one, I'm going to show you how I learned to weave in with the purl stitch, okay? Or yeah, when I was knitting. So you just go in and out of these stitches. You want to do about 5 to, oops, excuse me, gotta hold it up a little bit better so I get a little more flexibility out of my stitches. You want to do 5 to 8 per row. And then you go up to the next row, and you do the exact same thing the other way. Okay. And this one is kind of tricky to find. So there we go. And then I'm going to go back up into the next row up to my 3rd row. All right, and since I am hitting a border here or a different color, I think what I'm gonna do is work it back down to the next one and just go back, and this should hold it pretty tight. But what I'm doing right now is called weaving in my ends. There we go. So that when I wash or use it, I don't get a lot of yarn coming through, okay? And you can't even tell where that end went in my washcloth, okay? So there's one, and now I have my second one that I need to weave in. Okay. Kind of have a small hook. I have my big blue one, but that one is really big and bulky. This one is just one of the cheap ones that a lot of yarn stores will get for free from the yarn suppliers, and then generously share with those of us who buy their yarns at the yarn store. But they don't work well with DK yarns and smaller, I find. Okay, so I'm going into the side of this one just to pull the knot in through. And since there are a few layers of the border, I'm going to go ahead and just do, I'm going to do the 3 strand ones along the single crochet border, where you work it into, see, this hook is a little too big, I think, but it'll get the job done, I guess. Go up a few stitches. And then when I circle back, I want to make sure that I have a strand in between, so I'm not just undoing my work. Okay. Probably need to switch to a smaller hook. There. So that I can finish getting it all the way through. That one's just too big for what my stitches are on this one right here. And this one is really small. It's actually one of my sewing needles. There we go. Okay. So now I can finish weaving in my ends. Typically, I go 3 times back and forth. So I did 1, and this is number 2. And so once I come through here, I'm going to loop it actually around this one in the corner. You can kind of see there's a little strand there, and that's going to keep me from, see, it kind of locks in there. That's going to keep me from undoing the work I just did. I'm going to come out of this one, pull it tight, take my needle off, kind of tug at it, get it a little bit comfortable, and cut off yarn, and there we go. Can't even tell where I did that, put that in. There you go, your first Tunisian crochet washcloth. Great job.